So if you're watching this, welcome to the Fearless Podcast channel. I finally took the time to migrate the podcast over to its own channel. Riverside's now hosting it, and we'll have a newsletter that'll go out. So I'll put a link below so you can sign up for the newsletter. But changes are coming, and I'm out on the daily ruck. So if you've listened to any of the couple ruck talks I've done, I'm rucking, still rucking every day. And I hope the mic is doing its job on this breeze. There's an awesome breeze today. And they're baling hay, being productive, doing the stuff. And I got a new weighted pack, just a 30-pound weighted vest. I forget the brand. My wife got it for me as a surprise, and it's really perfect. I was doing it the cheapskate way with like a high-end backpack and putting dumbbells in it, and it got the job done. It worked, but it wasn't comfortable. And so much can be said for just having the proper equipment to do the job. Speaking of the proper equipment, for any of you that have been following our story or health adventure and all that stuff, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I started having issues with my left hand and numbness in my fingers. About 10 years ago, I started having severe back and neck pain, and I really just thought it was my neck and vertebrae and all that stuff, and constantly went to chiropractors and did all that stuff. Did a Rosti, did Egoscue. Any recommendations that you might try to post down below, there's a 90% chance that I've done it. Stem cells, all that good stuff. But anyway, for whatever reason, I'm missing 30 or 40% of my labrum. And whether it was a birth defect, and it just took that long. I was born premature, and my twin sister has some issues like cerebral palsy and different things like that on the left side. And then, there's a really good chance that I could have been born with it, and it just took this long to really exacerbate. But anyway, over the past 10 years, I've had terrible sleep, and we all self-diagnose, and I absolutely was thoroughly convinced that I had sleep apnea. I was thoroughly convinced I had sleep apnea. Oh man, I'm not sleeping. I should do a sleep study. And my wife's like, yeah, you should just go do a sleep study. And I've listened to hundreds of podcasts on sleep and read mountains of articles. And I was thoroughly convinced. One, that I had sleep apnea. Two, that I was probably going to die in my sleep. No, but I mean, relatively speaking, yeah. And so kept researching, and I'm like, well, you know what? The easiest and most cost-effective thing is going to buy one of these gizmos, right? So I did all the research on that, these different rings and watches and whatever. And the consensus that I drew was that this Hume band was legit, and it would get you the data without forcing you into subscription on demand. We'll own nothing and be happy. Everything will be on subscription, and we'll pay a small monthly fee into eternity and all that stuff. But anyway, so I got the Hume band, and of course you can't get all the gamification without the subscription, but I don't need that. I just wanted the data. I just wanted the sleep data. And so I've had it for about 4 or 5 days. And the craziest thing is, and I do still wake up, I have some residual pain and stuff because of the labrum in the shoulder. I mean, it's smoked, and I am I'm doing different supplements to try to help with all that. And the main reason I went carnivore is that almost everybody said, yeah, I stopped snoring in like 3 days. Well, I'm a modified carnivore now, but I was full-blown carnivore for 2.5 years, and I never stopped snoring. And my snoring wakes me up, and I've never stopped snoring. And now I'm like a meat-based with the fruit. I do quite a bit of fruit, and I inserted carbs because it helped me sleep. On straight carnivore, what was happening is I'd wake up at 2 or 3 and my body temperature would elevate and I'd start to sweat. And I was like that for like a year. And then introduced some carbs back in. Sometimes some potatoes, sometimes some rice, but usually fruit. And it took away that whole whether it's a cortisol spike or whether it's a glucose spike or whatever it was, that's gone now. And that's been going for about a year. So, but back to the band, I've been wearing this thing for 4 or 5 days, and come to find out, my sleep is really good. I wake up and whatnot, but between the deep, light, and REM cycle, it's really good. And so I'm always skeptical of is this thing real? Is it really whatever? It's good to be a skeptic, but cynicism is deadly, right? So be skeptical, be curious or whatever. So I'm like, well, how do I know that this thing is really doing what it's supposed to do? So yesterday morning, I didn't have to get up early, and I always get up at 5, and so I naturally, ultimately wake up at 5, and I got up, and you can run through all the data, and it'll say start your day, so it can start tracking stuff and different things. And I was like, so I hit start my day, right? And I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back to bed, right? And I want to see what this thing does. I went back to bed, somehow fell asleep immediately, slept for another 50 minutes, and this thing picked right back up. I mean, it's technology is pretty wild, but yeah, the long and the short of all that is well, one, a sleep study probably would have cost $1,500, $2,000 or whatever, and have to go sleep in some kind of goofy hospital setting. But for $200, the Hume band knocked it out of the park. And interestingly enough, and maybe it's just, your mind affects you in a lot of ways. And I'm always changing up my routine and tweaking and observing, be fascinated and be observant, participate, don't be passive. But now that I know that I'm sleeping better, I actually feel better. And that could obviously be anecdotal. It could be through lots of stuff, but it doesn't go without saying that. And for literally a decade, I thought that I wasn't sleeping at night. And, I was sleep apnea and I was stopping breathing and all these different things. And that just wasn't true. It doesn't mean every day is going to be like 10-star over the top energy and all that stuff. But now, regardless, you do it anyway. Before, I'd always make excuses and someday I'll, and the next day when I get to good sleep and all that stuff. But now it's just you do it anyway. And so, a little bit of a rant and ramble there. Maybe if you're interested, you picked up some nuggets, some tidbits or whatever. But welcome to the Fearless Podcast channel. And I made a ruck challenge on our previous channel. And maybe I'll repost it here. So, but I'll be dropping these videos here and all my awesome interviews. I just talked to my buddy Barry Dyke. We had a great interview talking about BlackRock. And then this past week, I talked to Hakeem Anwar for the second time and had him on the show to talk about data centers and what's going on with data centers and why it matters and why we should pay attention and why we should participate and be educated. And so check them out. Like, share, subscribe. Share them with your friends. This is very important information to share, which is why, to me, it's really important as a God-fearing Christian and as a father of 6 children to produce content, one, that glorifies God, that edifies the brethren, and that people can share. It doesn't have to be laced with expletives. Our society, I'm either going to do a podcast or a ruck talk on this whole tattoo thing. I really want to go down the tattoo rabbit hole. And then we had this tattoo. It's just a fruit of the culture, And now it's been sanitized and Christianized and homogenized and pasteurized, and it's all good now, But it's not, it's just a litmus test. It's just the canary in the coal mine. But anyway, we'll talk about that at a later date. Now, all that being said, I need feedback. I need y'all to participate in the comment section. 1, letting me know what guests you want on the show. 2, interacting with the topic and maybe helping me crowdsource information, any other tips or what have you. That's greatly beneficial because I don't know it all and I don't pretend to know it all. And I appreciate information and feedback because I want to participate. I don't want to passively just float along. So I need y'all's participation and appreciate y'all taking the walk with me today. And so what's your 1%? Where are you on the 1% challenge? 1% every day in 100 days is 100%. What's it going to be?